right. So how you doing this morning, Addy?
Doing good. Working on a thing for Jax Miller. I've been a little piecing together time and putting a little time in here and there. She got a custom stab wood mod that kind of self-destructed, and so I've been trying to rebuild it for her.
Right. Uh, that's one thing, and I've said it to other people. Seems like that you're always willing to help people out. Just like, and by the way, thank you for taking time to sit down and do this interview.
Oh, absolutely, brother.
Uh, Outside of vaping, what do you like to do? Got any other hobbies or interests?
All my hobbies are vaping stuff. My mom's 88, so that's a day every weekend. I'm sure it'll get a little bit worse as time goes on, but
Right.
yeah, we're kind of, the wife and I are homebodies, kind of.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Uh, I'd say it's cheaper to stay at home anyway, but vaping wise, that doesn't always end up being the case.
Yep.
So
There's
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say there's so much shiny stuff out there. It's hard not to click on it all the time.
Right. How long did you smoke?
Oh God, over 30 years, probably around 35. I never really figured exactly.
Wow. So how did you get introduced to vaping and what made you swap over?
Yeah, it's a funny story. My mom was going in for a hip replacement, so I took her to her general practitioner, and the doctor saying, I want you to quit smoking 10 days before your surgery so you have a good chance of recovery. And that scared the crap out of her. And the doctor and nurse saw the look on her face. And the nurse looked at me and said, take your mom to the vape shop. So I did. 4 days later, after her 57 years of smoking, 4 days, and she's on this little, this freaking ego, and it's working for her. And I'm like, son of a bitch. I'm going to try it, right? Because, I was starting to feel effects of smoking all those years. And so I got on the train. And then, a couple days later, my wife said, well, do you expect me to get one of these vape things? I go, I would love you to try it. I'm not the boss of you,
Right.
So in a couple weeks, all three of us were vaping, and that was in 2013.
Wow.
Yeah. Now she had quit. She's quit altogether. She doesn't smoke, vape, anything. And like in my story, I'm well, you can see the crap, the crap here.
Right. I've got a similar pile, not quite that big, but I've got a similar pile.
I've been working on it for years.
Right. So health wise, how has vaping helped you?
I'll tell you, I started feeling positive effects in 4 days, and I couldn't believe it. And it made me feel so stupid that I haven't tried it before that. Because, I've heard a little bit about it, and yeah, it was. I was really sorry I didn't try, and that's why I try to spread the word, spread the truth, and try to advocate for vaping, just to help the smokers break those chains. That. Because when you're smoking for so long, it's like, okay, I'm getting this point on the road. Okay, here's that water tower. I got to have that cigarette. It's just
right, and I think a lot of it is mental. You've got to want to quit to be able to quit. But I think the good thing about vaping is it mimics smoking so much There's
Yep.
the action of putting something to your mouth. There's the ability to exhale and see something.
I
Um,
agree.
and I think all that helps mentally, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the most common question I've got from people is everybody wants to know, where did the name Addy Tuney come from?
It's kind of a funny story. It's I worked in a factory for years, and I started out in production. And when I was 18 years old, um, I was still living at home, didn't have a ton of money, so I would brown bag my lunch every day, and I love tuna fish sandwiches. So one of the older guys at the plant kind of befriended me. He was really nice to me, so I used to eat lunch with him, and he said I looked like this um, financial girl in the lab called Mary, so he used to call me Tuna Fish Mary, so that got shortened down to just Toonie.
Obviously, you mix. I mean, people call you the Godfather of mixing, the Mod Father, uh, all these names. What made you want to start making your own your own liquid? What kind of drove you to that point?
Well, in 2013, it was like $30 for 30 milliliters. It was ridiculous, and I hadn't known about the whole online thing much, and there was only one vape shop in town, and their liquid wasn't that great, and so a new vape shop opened, and I started talking to the guy. He was super nice, super friendly, but he didn't know how to build, and I didn't know how to bake my own liquid, so we kind of swapped. He goes, "I'll make you a deal. I'll show you how to mix if you show me how to build." So that's what happened. Yeah, it was just super expensive, crappy e-liquid, and yeah, so it was a way to create, and it was fun and a lot easier than people think.
Right. So, uh, have you ever thought about, in a roundabout way, how many people that you've helped like learn to mix? Because I mean, Fresh 03 credits you for teaching him and getting him into mixing, right? And then Fresh just kind of ran with this and ran with this. But had you never taught Fresh, had you never reached out and shared that information with him, who's to say that he'd ever picked it up, and how many people that he is responsible for?
Yeah, I'm really happy that Fresh took off with it, and it was able to, help him and his daily struggles. And um, I don't know, that's how I was brought up, to help people. So, and Fresh helped me a lot too. He sent me a HD webcam, and I made a lot of friends that I never would have had. It opened me up a lot, and I really credit him with that. So, I don't know. I'm always helping people. I don't really think about how many, but just what you should do in life, help each other. And
Right. I'm glad you said that. Because today, more and more, it seems like people, they're just all about themselves.
yeah,
Um, it's not that way necessarily in the vape community.
right.
A lot of people willing to help everybody. Which, can you imagine if people went back to doing that, like just on a regular basis, just willing to help their neighbor, or somebody broke down on the side of the road, whatever?
It's a crazy world with social media and the millennials, and I don't know. People don't converse anymore. You can't even get somebody to pick up the phone. You have to text them, and I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Do you got a rough guesstimate how many concentrates that you have?
Um, Not as many as Tam and Rin and Fresh. I have a good amount. I never really counted,
Right.
but there's so many that I try not to buy more, because there's so many I haven't tried yet that I have in stock.
Right. Right. I'm in the same boat. Uh, I went on a buying spree a while back, and I bought, I don't know, probably 140 concentrates in 1 month, and I still haven't tested all of them. So, speaking of testing, do you still do single flavor tests?
rarely. I like I got the Wonder flavors in, so I've been kind of mixing them up a couple at a time, you know, and seeing what would go good in a recipe, and you know, flavors I know what they do already, so at least I have a mix to vape, you know, and not just a, you know,
Right.
mix up 15 and dump it. And
Right. Do you have a favorite concentrate right now?
I think lately the most versatile and the most awesome is the flavor of boysenberry, because it's just, it does such interesting things to so many other berries. And you know, like you can make a dark cherry with it, you can make a jam with it, you can turn raspberry to blackberry. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I heard. I have that. I haven't used it yet. Thought I heard the other day that you can add that to blackberries to make them better.
Yep.
To blackberries.
Yeah, use it super low. And another one that Fresh kind of turned us on to was a liquid burn vanilla ice cream. I
Right.
love that.
Yeah, absolutely. That that goes in a lot of my mixes nowadays.
And I mean, just so many great concentrates now. When, you know, when I started, you had Loran's and Flavor West, and you know, there wasn't a whole lot of competition, so nobody really tried too hard because they didn't have to. But now, you know, the new all the new Flavora stuff, all the new Wonder flavor stuff, just pretty amazing. That lemon orange rice candy, I've been vaping that just by itself. I think at like 2.5% or 2.8. It's really good.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't have the new ones yet. One of these days, like I said, I'm about out of room in the truck, so I got to
Yeah,
start getting rid of stuff.
I know that's where I am. I had to build some shelves just to get my stuff out of bins, so it only take me a couple minutes to find stuff. It was getting ridiculous.
I'm still on the bin thing.
I
Uh,
get so jealous when I see Tam vapes with all their beautiful bins and racks. And
right. Uh, but I don't know how she does it, but she seems to know where stuff is too, which I guess is how you organize it. Uh,
she's just a blast. I love her.
Absolutely. Uh, where do you get inspiration for your recipes?
You know, it's funny. I used to get a lot of inspiration from Ruby Root when she used to do her juice reviews, because she would, you know, she got some really interesting mixes. And I think that's one of the reasons she started her own e-liquid line, because she was such a good flavor tester. Um, I don't know. Right now, it's things come to you during the day, and I tend to write them down. Like when you're out and about eating something, like flavor combinations, and something pops into your head, I try to write it down.
Right.
But
Right.
there's so many awesome mixers now. It's just great to get ideas from them too.
Oh, absolutely. Uh, there's
Like,
a lot of good mixers nowadays.
and the sharing, you know, like when I think, you know, the origins of DIY, I think Rin Vapes and Jen Jarvis. You know, they've been doing it for 8 9 years. When it was, you had ECF, you know, and you had to kind of come up with your own stuff. There was not a lot of knowledge, there wasn't recipe calculators. It was, I mean, it was tough back then. You know, you had some crappy Loran stuff. Half of it was oil, half of it wasn't even safe to vape.
Right. That's back in the day of there was another lady, Jeannie Kirschwell.
It sounds familiar.
Uh, she was on a show with Wayne a while back, and even now to this day, she doesn't use a calculator. She does everything mathematically just because that's how she's always done it.
Right, right, and that's why I still use the drops with pipettes, because it's just, that's how I learned. That's how I was taught.
Well, I think you do what you're comfortable with too.
Yeah, and DIY is not really an exact thing, as long as you can replicate it exactly, the stuff that you like.
Right. So I know that you mix other people's recipes as well as your own. Are there any recipes from other people that you just keep going back to, like you can't get enough of?
Oh gosh, Shindo's mint chip cookie is amazing. Yeah, I mean, I've been buying his concentrates to support him, but he was nice enough to put the recipe out there.
Right.
But I just love that mix. And Mary Beth just made me one flapping for Addy. She just
Right.
put that one out on her what she put all the flavors she put it on. Oh, it's really good. It's Rin's pie crust. Oh, I got it here. Yeah, cinnamon sugar. That's Capella's flavor of graham crust. Flavor of pastry zest, and she added flapper pie by Wonder flavors. She used VT creme brulee. I didn't have that one, so I used 101 creme brulee and FA meringue. Oh, it's so yummy. It shouldn't be off the shake, but it's really good off the shake, and it's already better like the next day.
Really? And she just did that yesterday, I think, on Daytime Frank Show.
Yeah, yeah.
So how about your recipes? Is there a favorite recipe of yours that like you just mix it over and over? And are you an all day vapor, like you vape the same thing all day, or do you change?
If I'm on like a road trip, it'll be like the same thing because I just fill up a big tank and go. Or like at work, it's the same thing. But once I get home, I have 8, 9 things and drippers and stuff I have to have all day. You know, just a few vapes out of all of them. Just vary my stuff. You know, some strawberry submission, some this one Carnival Celebration when the season hits. This apple Turkish Harvest. Oh, it's just so good. And I'm still even like the old stuff, like the Ruby Roo stuff, the Nola. Yeah, so I can't be stuck on one thing. There's so many awesome recipes out there.
Right. I can't vape the same thing all day, but I drive. So that's why I use tanks, but I've got 3 or 4 tanks going at all times with something different in each one.
How do you keep things straight? Because I get confused of what's in what sometimes.
Sometimes it's a surprise because I think I know what's in it, but it's not really what's in it.
That's not supposed to be raspberry. What the hell's going on here?
Right. Right.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. You're fine.
You always do long hauls or short hauls?
Right now, I run from Chicago to Bristol, New Hampshire, which is 40 miles north of Concord, if that helps.
That's got to be rough in the wintertime.
It's been interesting. It's been interesting, but I've been driving for 24 years now, so driving in the snow doesn't bother me too much. It's the other people driving in the snow that bother me.
Yeah. You know, the people that got to get ahead of that truck, and that's just their mission, and they cut right in front of you. They don't give you room to stop.
Yeah, well, they cut right in front of you, and then the first thing they do is hit the brakes to slow down. That makes no sense to me, but people do it all the time. They do it all the time.
It's like people are so distracted now because they can't go 10 minutes without checking their texts or, posting the selfie driving down the throughway.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do your job. I get so angry with people.
I do, but I just got to let it go. Is there a flavoring, a concentrate that's still missing out there? Like if you could call Bryson and say, hey, I want you to make this, what would that be?
Wow. Nothing comes to me right now. I had that idea a couple times, but I can't think of one right now. It might come to me before the end of the show.
All right. Who would you say influenced you most as a mixer?
God, that's tough. I think Rin vapes. because she was the one that first got really popular with the low percentage recipes. And I had never even thought to try lower percentage recipes, and getting the percentages right. It's a little tougher to mix lower, but it's really rewarding, and it's better for you because the less flavorings you have, and you save money.
Right.
And the ones that don't turn out good, you end up scrapping. And you're throwing a lot less money away in flavorings. And fresh too, because all I did was get him going on a recipe I had, and then he just snatched the pebbles out of my hand and ran with it.
True story. If you could be put in a room with 3 people that you would just like to meet, just to sit down and pick their brain, whether it's DIY or not, living or dead, who would those people be?
James Madison, father of the Constitution, Martin Luther King, and who else? Monica Lewinsky.
All right.
I want the true story.
Right.
I bet she's got some pretty good conversation.
I bet. I'm surprised there's not a book out there, but I guess it kind of got squashed.
Yeah, you'd probably disappear off the face of the earth if you tried to write it.
Right. How do you feel about giving and getting constructive criticism from other people from the community?
I'm fine with it. I mean, how else are you going to learn, right? I mean, some people don't like getting it, but if you're going to put yourself out there, you better be ready for it. You know what I mean? You can't have too big of a head that you can't take some criticism. I mean, nobody's God. Right.
Absolutely. So everybody knows that you modify K-funds. What got you started into that?
Well, early 14, there was no really good equipment. I mean, we had like the Igo W. We had a couple drippers that were Chinese garbage. And then this tank came out, the K-Fun, and it's like everybody started raving about the K-Fun, and but it was, super, super tight. And I just needed a little bit more than that. So I started drilling stuff out, putting a little bit lower ohm coil in there. And, back then, I mean, nobody would drop below 1 ohms because they were afraid something was going to blow up in your face. And there wasn't a lot of knowledge about batteries and how far you could push things. And so as I did, as batteries progressed and more knowledge came out, I would put lower ohm coils in there, and now the juice flow wasn't good enough to feed that coil. So then it was diamond bits and grinding out the juice channels, and then it was Eric Violent Vapor had this awesome idea of putting some holes right in the barrel to feed your wick. So I'm like, holy shit. So I started integrating that into my K-Funds, and it was probably a year and a half, 2 years, and then I realized that 528 Customs was doing the same thing. He had K-Fun, wasn't good enough for him. He did the same mods, but he came up with a better airflow system. So it's just been a fun ride because I always wanted a better vape, something a little bit warmer, something a little more satisfying. And it's funny, I got the 28.5 millimeter K-Fun out today. Tobacco made like a monster version.
Right.
But that's fun. It dual 26 650s and the Lazy Vapors box.
Right. But
this
that's one thing, and I think it's neat that you do it the way that you do it with your K-Funds. You don't you can't really buy one, not from Addy Tuney.
Right.
buy one. But you'll be the first person to give it away to people.
Yeah,
And I
you know,
think
a
that's
lot of
pretty
people inspire me and do awesome things in the community, and it's just kind of my way of saying thank you, I guess.
cool. Absolutely.
But
Go
I'm
ahead.
not gonna lie, it's cool to see them out there.
Oh, right, right. Uh, can you still buy K funds now?
There's a room, no, not the Light Plus. They stopped making that a while ago. They still make the Prime, which is nice. It's a 2 mouthful long, and then there's another version. I think it's called the Plus, and that's more of a wide open airflow RTA. And then there was the K-Fund V5, which was a little too open for most people. Yeah, they still make some awesome products. They're still out there, but there's rumors that they're bringing back the Light Plus, maybe with like the Monster 528 air system even. But yeah, I don't know what's true or what isn't.
Right. So do you currently modify any other devices, or do you have any plans or thoughts about doing something different with something else? Or
Um, a lot of the new stuff doesn't need any modding. It's stuff has gotten so good. You know, I love to I love the oxide finish, so I flame up a lot of stuff.
right, and that was going to be my next question. What gave you that idea? What got you started in that?
I think it was Mecho 101 on Instagram. I think he was the first one I saw flaming atomizers up, and he was doing mech tubes, and he just did phenomenal work with. He would sandblast, you know, put tape on something and leave these beautiful imprints and sandblast it, and then heat treat it, so he had like a smooth and a coarse finish, and it was just amazing stuff. He's moved on now, but yeah, he was one of my mentors in that.
Good deal. Let me see.
You know, I especially like how a lot of the newer stuff they have the milled like indents, like the Rebirth. You know, they actually mill design in the tank, so it's kind of fun to get different colors to come out in that milling part.
Right.
So that's what I really enjoy, when something's milled in there and I can try to get colors in that milling part. That's a lot of fun.
I think they're cool, and none of them end up the same. I mean, they'll look similar, but they're not identical.
Right, right.
So it's kind of a unique product.
I dug something else kind of fun out for today. A Pro Tank 2 with a stainless steel Kanger AFC on the bottom on a old Sigelli 200 SX 200, I think it is.
Wow. I haven't seen a Pro Tank 2 in forever.
Let's see that. Yeah, you adjust the water jumping down by the gravimetric switch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how we ever figured this stuff out.
Where do you see advocacy going in 2019?
Oh, it's a tough fight. We need more to get on board and just contact the representatives. It's like Fresh says, he hit it on the nose. Federally, it's in the hands of the big boys federally. I mean, we can still make a difference state by state, but when you have these foundations like Bloomberg that give public opinion, what's the name, influencers, millions of dollars to bring out these lies about youth vaping and all this crap, and influence people's opinions, and they start contacting their representatives about the lies, and I mean, how are you going to stop that?
Right.
Nobody has that kind of money to counteract it.
Right. And it seems like today too, once somebody sees something, like they see a negative story about vaping, whether it be on the news or in the newspaper or on the internet, a lot of times once they see that opinion, that becomes their opinion, especially if they're not a vapor. What do you say to people like that to try to kind of at least make them consider the other side of the story?
I tell them about Bloomberg. I tell them about the actual numbers. I always bring up the how they do it in England, the Royal College of Physicians study. And I tell them about how the government is losing tax revenue, local and federal. And another big thing is pharmaceutical. People don't realize that, pharmaceutical pretty much funds healthcare and pretty much owns all the media just because of the commercial time.
Right. Right.
And I usually get like a shoulder shrug, and at least to get them thinking about it a little bit.
Right.
And then if they don't want to hear anything, I tell them, well, just continue to be a sheep in front of the 6 o'clock news. They don't seem to like that much, but.
Right.
So you're on like the same trek a lot, so you must find some interesting places along the way that you like to stop at now.
Yeah, I've got places that I like to stop, and there's a bunch of. Sometimes I'll just stop someplace because I've never been there. I mean, you can go to places and you're used to who's there. You see the same people, you talk to people, and you know what to expect. But part of this for me has always been, especially being on the road, is I like to find new places to stop. I prefer to stop in the mom and pop type places, in the smaller truck stops.
Yep.
The smaller stores. I think they need the support more than like McDonald's does, but you just meet some good people that way.
I agree. I like to support the local versus the big business. So many local businesses that are getting screwed by, big, huge corporate countrywide places.
Right, definitely. What are some easy things that people can do to advocate? I mean, everybody doesn't have money that they can donate. I mean, that always helps, obviously. And if they did want to donate, should they donate on the federal level or on their local level?
If you're just a consumer, yeah, CASA is the way to go with CASA.org, because that's their mission, looking out for the consumer. Like if you're a vape shop or a distributor, Safada or VTA, that's who you want to really support. And it's free just to share some advocacy posts on your social media, your Twitter, your Instagram, Facebook. There's simple stuff you can do. Call your representatives, follow the calls to action from CASA, and it's simple. It's easy to do. You don't really have to confront people. I mean, when you make the phone calls, you're just talking to some intern, and he doesn't care what you have to say. Really, he just writes it down on a, check mark something on a piece of paper.
Right.
So, I've never talked to an actual representative. It's always been an intern. It's simple stuff to do. There's even a phone number you can actually text your message. You get your message out there, and it goes by fax. And you'll get a reply from your representatives that way.
Right. Who should be advocating at this point?
I think everybody who vapes. We were talking earlier about what vaping's done for you, that feeling that you get after a few days of not smoking, how much better you feel, and after a little while, when you might still want a cigarette once in a while, but it's not like every 2 minutes or whatever, every 10 minutes. It's like we talked earlier, you pass that blue water tower. Now you don't have to have that cigarette anymore. You don't smell terrible. You don't out of breath after 20 stairs.
Right. Where can people find you, Addy? Where they find recipes and your Instagram and all that?
I'm Tuney on ELR. I haven't gotten on the all the flavors train yet. Tuney219 on Instagram and Addy Tuney on YouTube's on the tubes.
Okay, and obviously, most of Fresh's stuff you're involved somewhere or another, whether you're in chat or on.
Yeah, I just love Fresh to death.
Absolutely,
Fresh is awesome.
Absolutely. And is there anything else that you wanted to get out there, advocacy wise? Anything? Something about you that I didn't ask? Anything?
No, just be nice to one another. You know, it costs nothing. It'll make you feel better too. Your karma will be better. People you'll start getting nice things in return happen to you.
Absolutely. You get what you give, right?
Yeah.
All right. Again, Addy, I'm so honored that you sat down to do this.
Oh, don't be honored, man. We're just cool. A family and just got to help one another.
Absolutely.
I'm just another guy that's just been doing it for a while.